In this video, we'll be looking at personal financial literacy in second grade. TEKS 2.11a, 2.11b, 2.11c, 2.11d, 2.11e, and 2.11f. We're going to go through each of these TEKS and just kind of talk about what they mean. This is right at the end of the school year, so please make sure that you have allotted some time in order to cover all of these TEKS. We're going to start out by looking at the very first TEK about calculating how money saved can accumulate over time. This picture just really briefly shows how we can demonstrate to the students that if I am doing some work and I want to start saving money for something that I would use later on, then this is how that money accumulates or how it gets bigger. I start out at week 1. I have no money saved. Of my $5 that I make for doing my chores around the house, I save $3 every week, and I can see how that accumulates to $6 for the next week. My $6 turns to $9, and we can compare how that money goes faster the more that I save. I can get to that $20 that I'm trying to save possibly by looking at the differences in how much money I can set aside. So this is how we can demonstrate to students how to calculate money saved and how it accumulates or it grows over time. The next TEK is the students need to look at alternatives, saving versus spending. We're really just talking to the students about what they can do with their money. They can spend their money, they can save their money, they can give their money away, which is another version of spending their money. But we want to talk to them about why we save. We save to meet the future wants and needs, or we save for just in case. If something breaks down, if something gets broken, then we have the money to pay for that. So we just talk about basically the differences between saving and spending and what they are. We also, in second grade, work with the students in looking at deposits and withdrawals. So we have to make sure that we talk to the students that a deposit is when money is going in, we're adding money, and withdrawals is money coming out. We're taking the money, we're subtracting it. Whether we're saving it at a bank or we're saving it in a piggy bank, it's still the same idea, is that I'm either putting money in or I'm taking money out. One thing that we can do with the students to help them see is give them some scenarios. Before visiting the bank, Delinda had $300 in her account. After visiting her bank, Delinda had $350 in her account. Did Delinda make a deposit or a withdrawal during her visit to the bank? So we can give them some scenarios to help them see what's happening, a deposit or a withdrawal. Students in second grade are also looking at borrowing, and we're not necessarily just talking about borrowing money, or we're not necessarily talking about a loan, but just the idea of borrowing where we're receiving money or goods now that will be paid for or returned in the future. So you can talk to them even about a library book and making that connection to responsible and irresponsible borrowing. Responsible borrowing is that if I'm borrowing money from somebody, I'm only going to borrow what I can afford to repay within a given time period, or that if I've borrowed an item, I'm going to be responsible, I'm going to take care of the item that I'm borrowing. Irresponsible borrowing would be borrowing more money than I can afford to repay within a given time period, or if it's an item, not taking care of it. So we just have to talk to the students, give them scenarios, find stories. There's lots of good personal financial literacy literature books out there for you to read with that. Students in second grade also work with lending. So what are some benefits and costs if I'm lending? And it's not so much about the bank lending us money, but if I'm providing somebody else something. So I'm lending you some paper, I'm lending you my bike to use for something. So it's either about money or it's about an item. I'm providing, when I'm lending, I'm providing others with money or goods now that will be returned or repaid in the future. I can lend money, I can allow someone to borrow my bike. We want to talk to the students about the benefits, which are the good things that happen. So some good things is that I'm helping somebody, I'm building friendships, I'm building relationships. But what are the costs? And these are the risks, these are the downsides, the bad parts about lending. Somebody may not give me my money back, the item might come back and be broken, and I could possibly lose friends from this lending that I'm doing. So whenever we are lending, whether it's money or an item, I have to weigh both of these pieces. With the students, that's our conversation that we're talking about. The last part of our personal financial literacy is where students need to talk about the differences between being a producer and a consumer. And here's my words right here. So we talked to the students that a producer are people who make goods or they provide a service. And then the consumer is the person who buys those goods and services. And we want to talk to the students that people can be both in the same time. My role, so if I'm a shoemaker, I'm a producer. I'm making the shoes, but I'm also a consumer when I buy the items to make the shoe, like the leather or the shoestrings. So we want students to be able to understand the differences between a producer and a consumer. And then at the same time, within the same TEK, we also want to talk to them about the cost it takes to produce a single item. So if I'm creating a craft, I want the students to understand that all the little pieces that are put together is what is the cost to produce that item. And there is a kind of small scenario here that you could use with students to help them, not when it's that big, that Anna wants to make beaded necklaces to sell at the local craft show. Each necklace will need 12 inches of elastic string and 20 beads. Use the price list below to calculate the cost to produce one necklace. And so they give the students the price list, and then we work through an addition problem in order to solve that. These are the personal financial literacy TEKs for second grade. If you have any questions, just email us.